Papa Swami Ramdas's first long journey as a mendicant. Vittal Rao, as beloved Papa Swami Ramdas was known before embracing sannyas, was struggling in the whirlpool of worldly life until he was lifted up by the indwelling infinite power. He felt that he was called by the divine to leave his cocooned life of severe limits and fling himself into the vast open sky of limitless infinity. This was his first long journey as a mendicant, traversing from the deep south to the far north, entirely relying on the indwelling reality alone, every day, every step, and every breath. The route map of Papa Swami Ramdas's In Quest of God journey. Mangalore. Papa Swami Ramdas's endless struggles in his mundane life, resulting in utter helplessness, led his advent into the world as a mendicant. He heard the inner voice of God. It was like a plank thrown towards a man struggling for very life in the stormy waves of a raging sea. On 27th December 1922, at 5 o'clock in the morning, he left Mangalore by train by bidding farewell to a world for which he had lost all attraction and in which he could find nothing to call his own. The body, the mind, the soul, all were laid at the feet of God. A seeker's likes and dislikes, favors and prejudices set up a thick wall on his path. He should fling himself into the infinite life. Srirangam. Passing through Erode and Trichy, Papa was guided to the banks of Kaveri, where he renounced all that he was holding dearly, including his name, Vittal Rao. For him, sannyas was like being lifted by the divine from the narrow pond of a worldly life and thrown into the extensive ocean of a universal life. Sannyas is a dedication of our entire being to the Lord and His service. It is a spontaneous wave of aspiration rising from within our own heart. Rameshwaram and Dhanushkodi. Throwing himself entirely at the feet of God, Papa travelled wherever he was guided to with an empty pocket, just two clothes and a few books, all his possessions in the world. Hurdles did not hold him back. He managed to find something positive in every experience. Where others found prickly thorns, he saw fragrant roses. Optimism leads you Godward, whilst pessimism pushes you down into the morass of skepticism, despair, and woe. Madurai. As his one and only guide and guardian led him further, he saw many wonders of art and architecture. But behind every carved stone and beneath every masterpiece, he found the signature of his master. Every towering structure showed him the splendorous glory of the Creator. Be the light unto yourself, and in your own original way, manifest the magnificence and power of your enlightened life. Be highly creative and set free the infinite power that is within you. Chidambaram. His path was often paved with hurdles, but with no grumbling and mumbling. He went on, embracing every situation cheerfully. At unexpected corners, he found the generous providence of God. He did as exactly he was prompted to. At the same time, whenever things did not happen as expected, he took even the non-fulfillment as his will and wish. Life must flow spontaneously like a river. Whatever act you do will, in this condition, be utterly divine. Don't have any misgivings or doubts. Push on until the great truth within you reveals itself in all its glory through every part of your being. Tiruppappuliyur. Surprises awaited him everywhere. Strangers became friends. Those who misjudged his attire and appearance and called him names later came to realize his worth and became admiring benefactors. In unfriendly encounters, he could never react on impulse. Eventually, they turned out to be benevolent experiences. Do not forget that you live and move in a world which is really a passing show. Do not be attached to it, nor be in any way identified with it. Take the whole world game for what it is worth. Pondicherry. God proposes, God disposes. That is how the old saying meant for Papa Swami Ramdas. Since he always believed that God is the guide, unfulfilled outcomes did not lead him to despair or disappointment. Like a feather drifting in the breeze, he wandered along without any resistance or reluctance. Human life is rich with the gifts which God has poured into it, for God Himself is at the source of all lives in the world. Tiruvannamalai. Papa's travels took him to diverse experiences, from meandering through crowded streets to meditating in a cave for a month in full solitude. He felt God's living presence in every breath. Every creature around the cave reminded him of His providence. His fellowship with nature was so close that even squirrels would come to eat from his hand without any fear. Prayer and meditation open up a channel of communication with God so that His grace may fill you and transform your life into His very image. Tirupati. As he wandered from place to place, he did not know what to do there or where to go next. But he knew one thing for sure, that his master has got the plan, the master plan of his journey of life. As much as he found His presence around him, he also knew that what he was seeking was within. Repetition of Ramnam simultaneously with meditation on the great ideal is perfectly right. But the remembrance must flow in the mind without a break, like the stream of oil poured from one vessel into another. Kalahasti. What is the whole purpose of this journey? Papa once encountered this question. He had no doubt or resistance in quest of God. It was clear to him that God is everywhere, but he wanted to experience the same. And he felt this wherever he went and whoever he met. To him, all signs and signals led to one direction, to God. Turn your mind day by day towards the immortal source of your life, God. Let your actions flow like gentle streams, singing the melodious song of divine service. Behold your beloved everywhere. Besavada. During his travels, Papa was fortunate enough to receive the services of many kind-hearted people who followed the dictates of their conscience. Seeing their services, even in unfavorable situations, with the risk of dire consequences, Papa often wondered, Thy one touch can change in a moment the entire face of the universe. Let your service be done in a spirit of spontaneous love, which is by itself a great balm and a source of unlimited joy and peace. True service lies in your not being conscious of having done anything for anybody while you are busily engaged in relieving the pains and sorrows of people around you. Jagannath Puri. Reaching the ancient seaside temple frequented by millions of fervent pilgrims, Papa felt a deep emotional connect. Papa's devotion to the divine knows no bounds, both in his abstract infinite Nirguna aspect and his local personalized Saguna aspect. Devotion means loving remembrance of God. Bereft of devotion, life is dry and tasteless. Devotion sweetens life and frees it from the bond of ignorance. Kolkata and Dakshineshwar. Crisscrossing the country from down south to far north, Papa was often led to the noble company of saintly souls. These precious satsangs, often held near sacred shrines, shed radiant light on his spiritual path. Revering the saints, he was touched by their values and ideals they kindled in the humanity. Butter comes after churning. Similarly, after struggle comes repose. The darkest night is succeeded by the bright day. So do not despair. Look within for the dawn of divine light and freedom. For this, satsang is beneficial. Tarakeshwar. Throughout his journey, he would meet people from all walks of life, from those who follow the rules in letter and spirit, to those who live precariously without much care about rules and conventions. For him, nobody is to be feared or frowned upon, and no deed was considered as weird or unbecoming. Spiritual progress does not mean development only in one aspect of a human being. His emotional, intellectual, and dynamic nature should evolve simultaneously. Gaya, Kashi, and Ayodhya. As a traveler without an itinerary, Papa often faced unsympathetic situations, but he was never desperate or frustrated. Instead, he found them as God-given tests to remain calm and unruffled. Like gold being melted and hammered repeatedly to make fine jewelry, these trying moments made him a finer being who is in tune with the grand designer. Man's eyes are open to the transitory nature of the world through the bitter experiences which he gains in the course of life. Jhansi. During his wanderings, Papa would often retreat to a quiet meditative place to be in communion with the divine, like a dewdrop slipping into the shining sea. According to Papa, prayer and meditation are essential to destroy the veil of ignorance that has clouded the soul. In meditation, your mind should think only of God who resides within you and not wander about in the midst of passing scenes of the objective life. The mind, going inward through the practice of prayer and meditation, finds the presence of the divine first within and then without everywhere. Himalayas. Papa's Himalayan journey took him to many ancient pilgrim centers, Haridwar, Rishikesh, Kedarnath, and Badrinath. The lofty peaks of mountains covered with rolling waves of clouds and the holy Ganga that flows in all calmness and majesty awaited him. He walked on, losing himself in the divine splendor. He felt like a baby in his mother's lap as he was enveloped by a sense of serenity. For freedom from attachment, the most efficacious means is a recourse from time to solitude. The renunciation that is required of the sadhaka is the renunciation principally of attachments existing in the mind. Mathura, Gokul, and Vrindavan. Papa acknowledged and adored both personal and impersonal vision of God. For him, both these aspects, Saguna and Nirguna, were complementary, not contrary or contradictory. In fact, the impersonal is manifested through the personal aspect. Truth or God is both personal and impersonal. Truth is personal insofar as it works in the movements of individual life and the world nature, but it is also impersonal as the eternal basis or foundation of this pure and spontaneous overflow of life and manifestation. Raipur. Throughout his journey, Papa made no reservations for either transport or boarding. Wherever he reached, he would look around to see a vacant spot, no matter whether it was nauseating or not, where he can rest for a while. Some of these places were rather inhospitable and offered no comfort to his weary body. Still, he had no reservations about his stay or food. Liberation is possible only through the human body. And to waste this life in pursuit of sense pleasures instead of trying to reach God is indeed pitiable. Body is only a vesture, a mask, or a vehicle, impermanent and transitory. Ajmer. Like an innocent child who would carry an umbrella to a gathering convened to pray for rain, Papa trusted God unconditionally to take care of him. Even when he was living in a jungle infested with many venomous creatures, he had no fear, for he knew he was in the ever protective hands of God. A man without faith is a vacillating creature, vacillating between sorrow and fear. Whereas he who possesses faith is the real hero who has conquered weakness and stands firm like a rock in all the storms of life. Junagadh. While traveling in the western India, Papa managed to visit contrasting terrains from high and mighty Girnar hills that got 10,000 steps to climb to the seaside town of Porbandar. But wherever he went, his sense of empathy and compassion towards his fellow beings, including animals, were intact and evident. The world we live in is a school in which observation and experience offer us immense possibilities for self-improvement. Nay, that the world itself is our Guru or God. Dwaraka. Papa had an unwavering clarity and conviction about the path he has chosen. His faith in visionary saints was unshakable. His relationship with his friendly fellow travelers was not burdened by any expectation from his part. Surrender is of one kind, total only. It means dedication of your entire life to God. There is no such thing as partial dedication. Highness is not given up partially. Bombay. During his travels, Papa sometimes met people who were through tragic and painful situations in life. They were looking for solace and solution. Listening intently to their tales of travails, he would then guide them to the uplifting and reassuring hands of the divine, offering them a safety net in the uncertain world. If we look at the problem raised as to why people suffer, why accidents happen, why people suddenly die or pass through long periods of agony, from the karmic standpoint we find that suffering and death come to man according to his past actions. Panchavati and Tapovan. Many incidents in his journey convinced him that God's ways are always inscrutable and he alone knows the why and the wherefore. Papa was always content with what he had and never wanted anything more, even when he was repeatedly offered. Feel always that you are in his hands and therefore always safe. With the weapon of God remembrance, you can dwell in the midst of temptations and remain unaffected. Trambakeshwar. Many a times, Papa was saved miraculously in precarious situations. These events reinforced his faith and trust in his Savior and convinced him that he alone exists. What the caterpillar calls the end of the world is what God calls a butterfly. Be calm and serene in all situations with the thought of God in your mind. Be always brave and cheerful. You are truly under his protection. Pandharpur and Bijapur. A journey is an expansion in many ways. It opens new windows to the hitherto unseen world. For Papa, whatever he came across, nature, buildings, people, animals, everything extolled the glory of God. Seeing a cow, Papa was reminded of how God through this creation nourishes us without fail. To Papa, cow represents a grand ideal of all that is gentle, pure, self-sacrificing and innocent. To love all is the true bhakti of God. To serve all is the real worship of God. Hubli. During his journey, Papa was fortunate to get the darshan of many Mahatmas who inspired him with the exemplary lives they led and the universal values they kindled. Society of saints is the most effective means to awaken the heart to the consciousness of God. The aspirant should approach them in all humility with an attitude to receive their enlightening influence. Pandava Caves, Kadri, Mangalore. Papa's journey that started from Mangalore came a full circle as he finally reached the Pandava caves near the town. To sum up, it was a journey that began in the background of frustration and utter restlessness, ended in the state of peace and serenity in God remembrance. The soul which is imprisoned within the toils of individualism now attains the bliss of perfect freedom.